Hello, and we're back for question 2 under the O.J. Effect, the impact of the media on the black community. Do you feel that the media shows black crime suspect pictures on purpose, more often, I should say, on purpose? Why or why not? And I'll start with Greg on this one.
Yes, they definitely show them more often, and the other thing that is brilliant that the media does to make us all look like savages is not only will they show the picture, they will like pick the worst picture they can find of you, so where you just looking like a complete animal, and they will plaster it everywhere. Now they still do show and they do this with blacks, anyone who isn't white generally. Anyone who isn't white. Usually when there's a white criminal and they flash the picture up, it's always a picture of them in like their graduation picture or something more flattering, like a yearbook picture. They show them at their best, and they always show black, brown, and every other variation at their worst when they show these pictures to the media. And that's all designed to keep the stereotype of be afraid of these people. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it frames the other ones as this is an isolated incident. This doesn't happen every day. See, he was a good kid and he just made a wrong turn. That's how it's portrayed for most white guys. Black people that could be your first crime. They'll put up the worst picture of you. They'll go through your Facebook page and find the one picture of you standing there with a bunch of money, with a money clip or something like that, and acting stupid. It could be a clown picture, like you just messing around and acting stupid, but they can take that and make you look horrible. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's definitely what they do, and it's designed that way to instill fear inside of the white community to this day.
Dion.
I do think that black and brown pictures are disproportionately shown, particularly like the mug shots of them. And this brings me also back to when Mike Brown was shot. The images that we saw of him after his death were the worst of the worst. It seemed like they went to try to take any picture that would portray him as what we stereotypically think of as a thug. They plastered that over the media. But then when you remember his stories, like he just graduated, he was going to college, you know.
He's going to college like a week from then, something like that, something crazy like that.
And
but then again, he did shoplift.
Yes.
It's not.
Actually, he didn't.
Well, that's what. Yes, that's what because he knew he was a robber, right?
Well, yeah,
he was
he probably
armed
had
robbery.
Strong.
Probably had weed in his system, and he.
You know.
Because weed has always made everyone,
Yes.
fly off the handle.
That's right.
My
And they didn't show any of his graduation pictures. Had he had been white, his graduation picture would have been shown all over the media because it would have been shown like he was a kid of promise, and an innocent life was taken. But instead, they chose to help paint that negative narrative and to make the cop look more justified in what he did, which is not true. So I think that we're still seeing that type of representation of anyone who is not a white man. And it also makes me think of just some of the recent terror attacks as well that have happened. Anytime there's someone of the Islamic religion or has any ties to what they can try to make to the extremist religions, you always see their picture within as soon as the story breaks out. But if it happens to be a terrorist who is a white man who went and shot up all these people, when do you see their picture? You don't see it for a couple of days until they can paint the narrative that this is a man who's suffered from mental illness and it's an isolated event. And not to take mental illness is a very serious issue, but it's not given to every person. It's not that black people aren't incapable of being mentally ill and doing extreme horrible acts. No, that's just what black people do. That's what brown people do. That's what poor people do. But that's not what self-respecting white people do. My God, they had a mental illness and such. So all goes along with the question of how the media paints the perceptions and the narratives that when certain people commit crimes.
Although, I thought Dylan Roof was he had some pretty bad images, but they also treated him Burger King when they arrested him.
Well, the media didn't do that. That was those cops.
He still managed to live, but the media reported on that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they did. Because I've had plenty of friends arrested and none of them was stopped by Burger King.
Yeah.
They all went straight to jail. Or the hospital.
Or just jail,
Yeah.
even if they needed to go to the hospital.
Even if they had to go to the hospital. Well, hey, why don't we talk to the guy on the couch? Just somebody out in Webland, I'm sure, that could probably help us with this conversation. Guy on the couch, what you got?
All right, for question number 2, do you feel that the media shows black crime suspects' pictures on purpose more often? Why or why not? I've got a response from Michelle. Michelle says, the Sentencing Project study shows that the news media does reinforce public misconceptions as they overrepresent racial minorities as crime suspects and whites as crime victims. Blacks and Latinos are more likely than whites to be presented in a non-individual and threatening way, unnamed and in police custody. This may be explained partly by unconscious biases of the reporters and news establishments themselves, or at least feeding the conscious or unconscious bias of the viewing public, as it's more likely to increase drama and therefore viewership. Back to you.
What do you guys think of what Michelle had to say?
Spot on. Spot on.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a hard one. Usually I try to come with a different perspective or a question that could possibly be slipped in, but I think it's pretty obvious that most of the time, most people have caught on to the idea. Not only do they find like bad pictures, but if something were to go down in a neighborhood, they find
Undesirable.
well, I mean, like they just find people who aren't ready for prime time. Put it that
Oh,
way.
you're talking about when they
Yeah,
want
the
to
interview.
speak.
Yeah, the interview. They just find people who aren't ready for prime
The
time.
sweet brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
We'll just go ahead and go straight to the plugs, which is at www.blackadvancement.com. One of our plugs is recommended websites. Basically, you take black-owned websites and black-owned businesses with their own website, and we push them on our website, and we also push them out there in the Facebook land and Twitter land and wherever else we have a hold on to, and we tell the audience here also to go and check out some of those recommended websites. Also, let's talk about books of the month. A book of the month for this month, which is something that's an interesting title, Whitewashing Race, The Myth of Colorblind Society. This was written by a bunch of different specialists in a bunch of different fields, and it kind of just talks about how white people have looked at the situation in terms of how they try to make the society seem as if it's a colorblind society, and there's a whole bunch of statistics that counter that point, and it kind of goes towards that. It's a good book. You should check it out. Also, last but not least, Black people you should know. There are many, countless Black people that you should know that they never taught you about in your history books. We have an entire segment on that on our website. Please hit on that tab and check out some of them. With all that being said, we'll be back with the third question right after this.